Your boss is sitting 3 feet away from you in a locked office at 11 p.m. on a Thursday night. She just slid a black folder across her desk with 2 fingers. Inside is a list of 14 clients who pay up to $2.1 million a month for one service, making people's lives collapse on command. Careers, investigations, elections, entire companies. She's offering you $400,000 a year to be the person who delivers the kill shot. Not with a weapon, with information. She's smiling, not with warmth, with recognition. Like she's looking at a photograph of herself from 10 years ago. She says the last woman who held this position retired at 32 and now lives in Portugal and hasn't thought about money since. She says it like a golden ticket. You hear it like a coffin lid clicking shut. You have 30 seconds to answer. And the worst part isn't the money or the moral compromise or the fact that you already know too much to safely walk away. The worst part is that every detail of your life up to this second has been engineered to make sure you say yes. But right now, you don't understand that yet. So let's go back. 6 months ago, you were nobody. 24 years old, $87,000 in student debt, a studio apartment with a radiator that leaks brown water onto the carpet every third night. You applied to a consulting firm called Ashworth Keane because the salary was $112,000 and you were drowning. You Googled it. The website was a single page. Stock photo of a skyline. Contact form. No team page. No client list. You didn't ask questions. You signed. Your first day, the receptionist handed you a badge with your photo already printed on it. You never sent them a photo. Nobody explained. The office was beautiful. 41st floor, glass walls, Italian furniture. Your title was Junior Research Analyst. You compiled profiles on public figures, politicians, regulators, judges, everything from public records, everything legal. You handed dossiers to your supervisor, a woman named Claire who wears silk blouses and never raises her voice. She said thank you. You didn't know who read them. You didn't know what they were for. The work was easy. The coffee was the best you'd ever tasted. You told your mother you made it. You told your friends you work in consulting. Nobody asked what that meant. You didn't either. That was always the point. They don't recruit you for what you know. They recruit you for what you owe. 3 months in, they moved you to the 39th floor. Your keycard changed from white to black. No more glass walls, offices with doors, doors with locks. The air smelled colder, like a room sealed too long. Claire introduced you to a system called the Index, an internal database on a terminal with no internet, no USB ports, no email. The Index contained thousands of profiles, not the ones you built. Medical records, therapy session notes with direct quotes from private conversations, private emails, bank transactions spanning 15 years. Photographs taken from angles that suggested telephoto lenses or hacked cameras. One profile had a recording of a federal judge calling his mistress. Another had photos of a congressman's daughter buying pills outside a nightclub at 2 a.m. You asked Claire where the information came from. She said the company has relationships. She said your job is to analyze, not to source. Your new task was building vulnerability assessments. You took a profile and identified pressure points. A council member hiding a gambling addiction for 9 years. A regulator whose daughter's arrest disappeared after one phone call from an unlisted number. A judge who owned property through a shell company in a state he'd never visited. You scored each vulnerability 1 to 5. 5 meant the target would do anything to keep it buried. You handed assessments to Claire. She said, thank you. Same words, but the work sat different in your body. You started sleeping 4 hours a night. You started grinding your teeth until your jaw ached by morning. You stopped calling your mother because her voice made you feel like a fraud. You told yourself it was just research. That's the thing about the first lie you tell yourself. It goes down smooth. Every lie after starts to taste like metal. Which brings you back to this office. 11 p.m. Thursday. The black folder. But now you understand something you didn't before. You were never an employee. You were a purchase. And the price was your debt. Claire explains your new role. Handler. You take vulnerability assessments and deliver them through encrypted channels to contractors who do the fieldwork. You never meet them. You never learn their names. You provide information. What happens with it is never your department. Clients pay for outcomes. A zoning vote that flips before a deal closes. A regulatory inquiry that quietly dies. An investigation that loses its only witness. The pay is $400,000 a year deposited into an account in Singapore. Claire delivers this the way a flight attendant explains emergency exits. She asks if you need time. You think about the $87,000. You think about your mother's rotting porch. You think about the people who leave Ashworth Keene and never surface anywhere else. No LinkedIn, no trace. You understand that saying no is not the safe option. Decisions like this are made in inches. You moved further than you realized the day you stopped asking where the index gets its information. You say yes. First deposit, $33,333. You stare at the number for 11 minutes. You pay off your student loans in one transfer. You buy your mother a house with a yard and a radiator that works. She cries on the phone. She says she's proud. You tell her the company gave you a bonus. Your voice doesn't shake. That should terrify you. It doesn't. Assignments arrive through the encrypted system. A code, a name, a file. Parameters describing outcomes. Never methods. Your first case. A senator on the banking committee needs to flip his vote on a regulation bill within 30 days. His son's hazing incident was buried with an NDA and a 6-figure donation. You send the file. 2 weeks later, the senator changes his vote. No journalist connects it to anything. Second case. A deputy director blocking a pharmaceutical merger for 8 months. She's having an affair, and her husband is a pastor at a church with 4,000 members where reputation is currency. You send the file. 3 weeks later, she recuses herself, cites personal reasons. Third case. An investigative journalist pulling threads on a client's offshore labor contracts. He scores a 5, the highest you've ever assigned. Expunged DUI. An email chain that looks like fabricated quotes out of context. A browser history that would end his career and his marriage in the same news cycle. You send the file. Within a month, his editor reassigns him. The story dies. No retraction. It simply stops existing. That's the architecture. It doesn't create events. It tilts probabilities. A nudge here, a document there. Information arriving at exactly the right moment to exactly the right person. 11 cases your first year. All 11 successful. Your quarterly bonus is $200,000 cash in a briefcase delivered by a man who arrives Saturday at 7 a.m. and never speaks. You put it in your closet. You don't count it. You pour wine at 8 in the morning and sit on the kitchen floor staring at the wall for an hour. Then you shower and go grocery shopping like a normal person. Real power doesn't announce itself. It moves through institutions like water, through hairline cracks, in concrete, quiet, patient, invisible. By the time anyone notices, the foundation is already gone. And now you are part of the current. 2 years in, Claire vanishes. Office empty on a Monday. No email, no farewell. Name scrubbed from the directory by noon. Parking spot reassigned by Tuesday. You ask the receptionist who sat outside Claire's door every day for 3 years. She looks at you blank and says she doesn't know anyone by that name. You stop asking. You don't sleep for 3 nights. You lie in bed, counting every person you've known at Ashworth Keene who isn't there anymore. 7. You can't remember the last name of 2 of them. That terrifies you more than anything. You inherit Claire's position. 6 handlers, the index, vulnerability assessments, contractor assignments. Everything flows through you. Meetings in windowless rooms with people using fake first names. They discuss ruined lives the way accountants discuss quarterly earnings. Flat, precise. No moral vocabulary. You start hiring analysts. You hire them the way Claire hired you. Young, smart, crushed by debt. You watch them through glass walls building clean dossiers, and you recognize the look on their faces. You wore it once. It feels like it belonged to someone who died. You are 27. Some mornings, you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. A year into running the operation, something clicks at 3 a.m. that keeps you awake for 3 nights. You are the only person who can see both sides. Clients and methods, targets and outcomes, money and machinery. The index was built for compartmentalization. Analysts see profiles, handlers see cases, contractors see assignments. Nobody sees everything except you. You can map the network top to bottom, name every client, trace money from Singapore to Liechtenstein to Delaware, connect operations to elections, investigations, corporate collapses across 6 years and 9 countries, 3 elections, 2 federal probes, 1 death ruled accidental that makes your hands shake when you think about it. This is leverage over the most powerful entities on Earth, and that is exactly why it will get you killed. The people who built this system always knew what you'd see from this chair: the Singapore account, the bonuses, the NDA referencing statutes in jurisdictions you can't identify. None of it was compensation. It was evidence. Every dollar logged, every file archived. If you ever try to use what you know, the system uses what it has on you first. You won't be discredited. You'll be erased. Like Claire, like the woman before Claire, like everyone who sits in your chair. You are not the architect. You are the most important moving part. And the most replaceable. You start seeing patterns you can't unsee. Your boyfriend appeared 6 months after you joined the second track, works in tech, kind, patient, never asks about your work, never, not once in 2 years. Normal people ask. People who love you ask. You test him. You say you had a terrible day. You say you're thinking about quitting everything. He doesn't ask what everything means. He suggests a vacation. You check his phone while he showers. It's too clean. No old messages, no cluttered apps, no embarrassing history, no forgotten texts. The phone of someone who expects it to be inspected. You can't prove he was placed. You can't prove the apartment across the hall that's been vacant since you moved in isn't wired. You can't prove your new doctor doesn't report to Ashworth Keene. You can't prove any of it. But you can never stop thinking about it. You lie next to a man you might love running vulnerability assessments on him in your head, and you hate yourself for it, and you do it anyway. That is the real price of the shortcut. Not the money, not the secrets. Not the guilt behind your ribs, like a fist that never unclenches. It's that you will never trust another human being for as long as you live. Someone has done to you exactly what you spent 3 years doing to strangers. Someone mapped your pressure points. Someone assigned you a score, and you will never know what number they gave you. There's a new analyst on the 40th floor. Started last Monday. 23, $94,000 in debt. Studio apartment where the window won't close and the heat barely works. She's smart. She's hungry. She builds clean dossiers and hands them to you with a look on her face, like she's proud. You take the file. You say thank you. Your voice sounds exactly like Claire's. She tells her mother she works in consulting. She tells her friends the coffee is unbelievable. She has no idea what the 39th floor looks like. She doesn't know about the index, or the channels, or the Singapore accounts, or the briefcases on Saturday mornings. She doesn't know about Claire. She doesn't know about you. Not yet. But in about 6 months, you are going to close your office door on a Thursday night at 11 p.m. and slide a black folder across your desk with 2 fingers. And she is going to look at you the way you looked at Claire. And you are going to smile. Not with warmth. With recognition, and the whole thing starts again, because the machine doesn't need loyalty, doesn't need ideology, doesn't need violence. It just needs someone with $94,000 in debt and a window that won't shut. It always finds one. It always will.